Going on, my friends? Welcome back. Butcher of Wall Street. Got some big news. The Department of Government Efficiency and Elon Musk are finally going after the Securities Exchange Commission to investigate fraud, waste, and abuse at the Securities Exchange Commission. And I'm going to tell you guys exactly how they can look into everything that's going on at the s.e.c., including market manipulation, and how the possible collusion there at the Securities Exchange Commission with other large institutions could possibly be negatively affecting retail investors and people around the world. As you can see here, I put this tweet out late last night. As soon as I found out about the Department of Government Efficiency s.e.c. account, when it was still brand new with only 1,100 followers, it had just been posted moments ago. And I did verify. You can verify it by clicking the little icon, little check mark. The gray check mark confirms that it's an official government entity, and the dollar sign confirms that it's an official DOGE account. And you can see here that it is a verified account on X that is affiliated with DOGE and the Department of Government Efficiency. So this is confirmed 100% to be accurate. The DOGE, right, has gone ahead and confirmed that they have created one of these accounts for all of the major government entities, including the IRS, the USDA, and so forth. So this is, in my opinion, absolutely huge news. But Donkey Kong says thongs are looking up. Yeah, my friend. Let's go, Vitali. And yeah, this is absolutely great news for everybody, including founding members of Lit Exchange. And I'll explain to you guys exactly what's going on here. All retail investors should be very excited about this. Don't let those out there on YouTube and Twitter and such trying to downplay this scare you away into thinking that they're not going to do anything, that it's not going to affect market manipulation. We're going to look at everything from the Whistleblower program to naked shorts and so on. And I'll explain to you guys exactly how DOGE can do this. Even though the OIG is in charge of the s.e.c., DOGE can work together with them to create some big differences and some big changes now. So, investigating fraud, waste, and abuse at the s.e.c. I have created this little PowerPoint presentation in order to share this with everybody. And I will go ahead and put a link to it, to this presentation after the fact, down in the description below on Twitter and on X and Rumble. X, Rumble, and YouTube. Exploring market manipulation, naked shorting, and s.e.c. collusion. What is DOGE going to do? The Department of Government Efficiency, of course, plays a crucial role at investigating and addressing fraud, waste, and abuse at the s.e.c. This presentation outlines the potential strategies and actions that DOGE can take to uncover and prevent misconduct within the s.e.c. DOGE can conduct audits on the s.e.c. operations and financial reporting for discrepancies and fraud. They can employ forensic accountants and financial analysts to trace and analyze financial laws and flows within the s.e.c. to uncover any illicit activities, including market manipulation. So yeah, you're right. Eli Arnold says big balls are swinging. That is without question. They can collaborate with cybersecurity experts to investigate digital trails for evidence of unauthorized access or manipulation of the s.e.c. systems, which could facilitate market manipulation or insider trading. So now we're getting somewhere with DOGE, aren't we? DOGE can conduct audits on the s.e.c. operations and their financial reporting for discrepancies and fraud. They will be able to employ these forensic accountants to track these flows, and this is, of course, good for everybody involved. They'll be able to review the s.e.c.'s enforcement actions, focusing on cases involving naked shorting to ensure regulatory actions are robust and not influenced by external pressures or collusion. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're getting tired of the slaps on the wrist, the cost of doing business, the fines in order for these big firms to continue doing what they're doing and just paying the cost of doing business to manipulate markets, that is something that can actually be changed. The investigative teams from DOGE could conduct interviews with the s.e.c. staff and former employees and whistleblowers and industry experts to gather the insights on the potential for internal collusion or external influences from Wall Street institutions. There's a ton of people pointing to evidence as to a lot of the possible collusion there between the SEC. Now, there are a lot of allegations going around that the SEC is not going after these big firms, banks, and hedge funds because the employees want to work there one day. DOGE might use data analytics to identify patterns of unusual trading activity that could suggest naked shorting or other forms of market manipulation, cross-referencing this with SEC's regulatory responses. Spoofing, wash trades, pump and dump schemes. You get it, ladies and gentlemen. The consolidated audit trail. They could possibly look into the CAT system there. DOGE can examine the SEC's regulatory framework and policies for loopholes or weaknesses. Lord knows there's tons of those, right? That might be exploited for fraudulent activities or that might allow for ineffective enforcement against market manipulation. Now, DOGE could also assess the SEC's interactions with financial institutions to detect signs of collusion, focusing on the communication logs that have been kept, the meeting minutes, and policy decisions that might favor said certain institutions. They could look into the SEC's whistleblower program to ensure that it's working properly, protecting the informants, and leading to actionable investigations into fraud and abuse, and that the SEC is actually investigating them instead of just sweeping things under the rug or pretending like it's not a big deal. By reviewing the public and confidential complaints filed against the SEC, hey Eric, welcome to the channel, my friend. DOGE can identify recurring themes or ignored issues related to market manipulation and institutional collusion, which has been a long time coming, folks. Now, the real good part, the additional strategies here. They can evaluate the way that the SEC handled market manipulation cases in the past. The 2008 GFC, the repo operations market crash of 2019, the 2020 C19 scamdemic, 2021 GameStop and AMC incident, the FTX collapse, tokenized securities fraud, and the list goes on and on. DOGE will be able to foster collaboration between agencies, the Department of Justice, the CFTC, and the FTC to uncover broad financial fraud networks. They can investigate third-party firms and consultants working with the SEC for potential conflicts of interest. Eric, thanks for being a member of the channel, my friend. Appreciate you once again. Check this out, folks. But wait, there's more. They can audit the SEC's internal programs and compliance programs to monitor for conflicts of interest with the staff. Meaning that if some of these staff have direct links to some of these firms, they could potentially be facing legal backlash. They can examine the SEC's public communications for inconsistencies that might point up to actual cover-ups or biases that prevent them, or should I say, in which the SEC doesn't want to go after certain firms because of these biases. Ernest says, no more slaps on the wrist, and I am with you 100%, my friend. Magnum says, do you think the CAT system, or at least the ones monitoring the information filtered, I'm sorry, my friend. I'm not sure if I completely understand your question there, so I'm going to skip it. No, my apologies for that. Northwest Sasquatch says, how about all the billions of FTDs outstanding? That's a good question. They might be able to look into a lot of the things going on with failures to deliver. A lot of the issues there with FTDs and the retro threshold securities list could be uncovered by the Department of Government Efficiency, thus leading to proper price discovery, or at the very least, increased scrutiny and forcing of these firms to be, held to a higher standard in actually closing out their fails to deliver. Michael Murphy, will the CAT system return with some teeth? Maybe when Paul Atkins is actually confirmed in the Senate and in the House, right? So DOGE could, of course, use data mining tools to identify potential collusion or favoritism, examine the SEC's communications for inconsistencies, and recommend legislative changes. That means actual laws to Congress and the House and new regulations based on their findings to strengthen the oversight, transparency, and accountability within the s.e.c. to prevent these things from happening again in the future. DOGE's investigation should very well provide a high level of transparency and hopefully restore some trust in the operations at the s.e.c., because a lot of people know that that's not the case. If you ask retail investors, how about this? Before I continue with the slide, I'm going to go on to the next slide now, but I want to see you guys drop it in the chat. Do you trust the s.e.c? Type in, yes, I trust them. No, I don't trust them. And just give me a brief explanation why. And I will read some of your comments out loud. Do you trust the s.e.c is actually out there to help retail investors? Or are they out there to help themselves and their buddies on Wall Street? The strategies outlined here aim to address systemic issues within the s.e.c. that may be available, that may enable financial misconduct. There are legislative recommendations here that could potentially become law. And thankfully, now that we've got a president that actually gives a shit about the United States Constitution and fairness in financial markets and everything towards the American people, with that guy up there that got shot in the head, thankfully he lived, we may be able to actually pass these laws. Ernest, Hawkeye, Dan, Quants, Bill, Gary, no. Captured regulators, too many loopholes. Hell no, there's regulatory capture. Ape Famous trusts his own farts more than he trusts the s.e.c. Bilbo says, I trust them to take care of their buddies. I'm apparently not a buddy. My friend Bilbo, thank you as well for being a longtime supporter of the channel. OG right here. 4 years of the s.e.c. helping retail, Maynard. Yeah, it's been going on a lot longer than that, my friend. They're all there to help themselves, says Jungle City. Steve Mills, harsh words for Hester Pierce, says Hester Pierce is Ken Griffin in drag. Holy shit. Brett Montgomery says, with Gary Gensler gone, I'm willing to give them a chance. Cheers, my friend. A lot of people had high hopes for Gary Gensler, but we proved that he was just another tool of the administration, further pushing along the agenda for the Biden-Harris administration to actually help big business and Wall Street steal money from the 99%. Jason Bertlow said, if they were there for us, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Cheers, my friends. The whistleblower protections and retaliation investigations. DOGE can look into how they handle the whistleblower complaints, making sure that these whistleblowers are not retaliated against and that they're actually listening to the whistleblowers and creating investigations, lawsuits, and working with the DOJ in order to prosecute manipulators of financial markets. Retaliation cases could uncover systemic issues within the s.e.c. itself, such as intimidation or efforts to suppress critical information. DOGE could work with legal teams to ensure proper legal protections are in place for whistleblowers and investigate whether retaliation is occurring within the s.e.c. or on its dealings with financial institutions. Does MMTLP ring a bell to anybody? And the issues there with FINRA and the making it so that people could no longer sell their MMTLP? How about AMC and GameStop and the 50 other securities that were made position close only by brokerages who colluded with clearinghouses and prime brokers and firms in order to prevent retail investors from buying more, thus capping the price on the stock and allowing hedge funds to continue buying shares to close out their short positions, literally manipulating markets into pushing these stock prices down. And the list could go on and on and on, but I'm going to stop there and we'll continue on with the slide. I've got just a couple more slides, about 5 more. Brett Montgomery says, I really do think Elon will change the s.e.c. Look at the amount of shorting and the various activity they did in Tesla for years. Exactly. And then look at what's going on with Donald Trump and Devin Nunes and DJT stock and how vocal the CEO of Trump Media has been against those naked shorting. They can examine the internal compliance at the SEC, the effectiveness of those programs, and how the employees monitor and enforce adherence to the law. The DOGE will be able to include evaluating conflicts of interest within the Securities Exchange Commission, whether the employees are properly vetted for ties to financial institutions, and whether there are any systemic failures in reporting and addressing potential wrongdoing. Keith Anthony says Hester Pierce is very handsome. That is extremely disturbing, my friend, but you're not wrong. Sai says Elon knows where the bodies are buried. And Haggis says Robin Hood took away the buy button. Never forget. And don't forget, it wasn't just Robin Hood. It was E-Trade, IBKR, Charles Schwab, and the list goes on and on and on with the number of firms. The vast majority of firms out there, brokerages, took away retail's ability to buy more shares because they were all working together. Now, they can also investigate the SEC's handling of high-profile market manipulation cases. DOGE can launch a deep dive into the SEC's handling of high-profile market manipulation cases, such as the 2008 GFC and the GameStop and AMC trading frenzy of 2021. Not to mention, even recently, we saw those stocks squeeze 2,000% multiple occasions in 2021, and even recently, in May of 2024, both the stocks went up hundreds of percentages as shorts began covering, all from a simple tweet from a man named Roaring Kitty. They could examine if the SEC adequately investigated these events or if the investigations were prematurely closed, potentially to shield influential Wall Street figures from accountability. Interagency collaboration. The DOGE can collaborate with the other agencies, the Department of Justice, the Federal Trade Commission, the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, to leverage their investigating powers. This would, of course, help uncover systemic fraud across all of the multiple entities involved in financial markets, ensuring that the SEC is not isolated in its operations and that larger networks of manipulation are exposed. Then you got the third-party firms. This is a big deal. Even self-regulatory organizations out there like FINRA have been under great scrutiny lately, especially with things that went on with MMTLP and other big name companies and firms, not to mention the DTCC. How many times have people said, how can the DTCC continue to allow the trading of shares or selling of shares when companies out there exist with only a couple million share float and trading hundreds of millions of shares in a single day? The math isn't mathing. Investigations could focus on the third-party firms and external consultants that the SEC hires. DOGE could scrutinize whether these firms have any conflicts of interest or whether they've been complicit in facilitating the market manipulation that the SEC oversees, supposedly. Haggis says, thanks to people like you with this channel, we have woken a lot of people up. God bless you and your efforts. Thank you, my friend. And it's up to you guys as well to do your part in sharing this with others that you know. Share it with friends and family. Repost it out there, because all we can do is give the information. It's if we can get other people to listen, more people will get a better understanding of what's going on out there and realize that, hey, we're sick of our pensions and 401ks and stock and crypto brokerage accounts getting robbed and manipulated and used to bail out firms at every turn of the corner. We've had enough. It's time for change. The DOGE can investigate the role of the credit rating agencies like S&P Global, Fitch Ratings, etc., and law firms that work with the SEC, which could also be analyzed for potential conflicts of interest. You guys have seen on this channel before, former director of Fitch Ratings Agency, Dr. Marco Metzler, here discussing with us exactly a lot of the things and problems that are going on in financial markets, to which the SEC has been turning a blind eye. DOGE can review their enforcement actions, focusing on cases involving naked shorting, to ensure that regulatory actions are robust and not influenced by external pressures or collusion. They can examine the rulemaking processes, how rules are created and implemented within the SEC. This includes assessing whether certain rules or loopholes have been introduced to benefit specific firms, specific industries, undermining their core mission to protect retail. Because at the end of the day, under Gensler, it was very clear that the Securities Exchange Commission was out there to protect their best buddies. Scrutiny of their internal rulemaking committees and the influence of external lobbying groups could expose corporate influence within these regulatory actions. Hey, why is it that Citadel and Virtue and company and all of their best friends out there, all these firms, just get slaps on the wrist when they're out there facilitating money laundering and manipulation of markets and borrowing and lending your shares without your permission? Not to mention facilitating Epstein Island, JP Morgan specifically. Come on, folks. Brett Montgomery says, you bring up a great point, and I want to mention this, that Brett says, I've been looking into it, though, and FINRA receives no taxpayer dollars as an SRO. Correct, they are a self-regulatory organization. I'm wondering how DOGE is going to get into that organization for an audit. Good news, folks. We have seen a lot of people point to the fact that the FINRA might be absolved and rolled into the Securities Exchange Commission. Former Securities Exchange Commission chair John Reed Stark tweeted, and I shared it on multiple channels, that John Reed Stark, former s.e.c. chair, stated that he believes that Donald Trump and Paul Atkins with the new s.e.c. may abolish FINRA entirely and roll in all of the FINRA responsibilities into the Securities Exchange Commission. If you want to see FINRA get the boot, let me see that. Put that in the chat. How do you guys feel about FINRA? How would you like it if the Department of Government Efficiency rolled over FINRA, worked together with Paul Atkins to say, hey, we don't need you guys investigating yourselves and concluding that you've done nothing wrong? Because in case you did not know, folks, FINRA is literally made up of these very same firms. Everyone that you know on these firms, the people on the board of director of JP Morgan, Citadel, Virtue, Goldman, blah, 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 they are the ones that make up FINRA. And when their companies get in trouble, FINRA is the one that looks at it and decides, okay, you know what? This is a problem, but, we're just going to fine you some money and you can pay it to us, and you don't have to admit any wrongdoing and go on, continue about your business, pay us this few $1,000,000, and when in reality you made tens of millions or more, and continue it as your cost of doing business. We can say we did our job, pat ourselves on the back, we investigated it, and we did nothing wrong. X Vision says, FINRA is guilty AF. Haggis, FINRA's corrupted. Joseph, give Fin the boot. Give FINRA the boot. Northwest Sasquatch, put the DTC under the s.e.c. while you're at it. They can review the s.e.c.'s resource allocation, folks. DOGE can analyze how the s.e.c. resources, their money, are allocated across different divisions. We've heard Gary Gensler say the s.e.c. doesn't even have money for coffee, for fuck's sake. Yet these people have money to go after retail investors out there for the stupidest shit, and going after XRP for claiming it's a security when they've already said it's not a security. Come on, make up your mind. By focusing on areas of market oversight such as short selling, insider trading, and high-frequency trading, DOGE can identify whether there is an underfunding or misallocation of money in areas critical to ensuring fair and transparent markets. These resources could very well be investigating high-frequency trading and algorithms, the insider trading and market manipulation, naked short selling and abusive short selling out there. These are serious problems. Move it to the blockchain, says Magnum. I wish it was that simple, my friend, but it is just not that simple. If any division is under-resourced or lacks personnel, this could lead to inefficiencies or insufficient oversight, facilitating market manipulation, as we've all seen happening now for many years on markets, under the s.e.c.'s watch, under Gary Gensler's watch. Thankfully now, Trump's nominee, Paul Atkins, is this close to being confirmed in the Senate and being able to move forward and take over his role in the Securities Exchange Commission. And one more thing I want to clarify. In case you didn't know, Paul Atkins was formerly with the Securities Exchange Commission and left in August of 2008, only 1 month before the global financial crisis there. And he had everything set up for the s.e.c. to continue to take down abusive naked shorts. And guess what happened? After he left, the s.e.c. did an about-face, a 180, bailed out all these firms using taxpayer dollars, and said, yeah, we're not going to do anything about naked shorting. They implemented these weak-ass Dodd-Frank regulations, which in reality don't do shit. Because these firms that have to abide by the Dodd-Frank regulations just sent a lot of their money to firms overseas, the Cayman Islands, the UK, etc. And those firms, because they're not within the United States, don't fall under SEC regulations and don't have to follow Dodd-Frank regulations. They fall under the CFTC. And the CFTC's firms, of which they overview, do not have to abide by Dodd-Frank regulations, or even a lot of the same regulatory reporting. So short positions don't have to be reported in the same way under CFTC firms outside the United States than as firms that fall under the purview of the Securities Exchange Commission. You see how easy it is? Hey, well, you know what? Company A here is having issues shorting this company abusively. Let's just send some of this to our Cayman Islands company, Company B, and you can short the shit out of the company using swaps and derivatives, and you don't have to report any of that short interest. So the short interest on that stock still appears to be near zero. Thank you, Eric, very much, my friend. Crypto Fem. I cannot wait for Paul Atkins to be confirmed as well. They can assess the SEC's public communications for transparency and consistency, and the press releases reports for the handling of market crises. They could indicate attempts to cover up mismanagement, Gensler, or to obfuscate public understanding of market conditions. They could scrutinize how they address issues related to systemic financial risk and decide if these guys are actually serving the public or the institutions themselves. Data mining, folks. They can literally go data mining for patterns of collusion and favoritism. They can use these advanced artificial intelligence programs in order to analyze the SEC's decision and market activities for patterns that suggest favoritism or collusion. They can use AI-driven tools to help them uncover hidden patterns in decision-making or trading data that a human investigator might not be able to catch. This would include identifying irregularities in trading volumes, spoofing, wash trades, etc. Pricing, dark pool manipulation, payment for order flow, etc. And the SEC enforcement actions that seem biased in favor of certain market participants. Remember, they're investigating themselves and have concluded that they've done nothing wrong. The CNS program, thank you, Matt Maximus. Continuous net settlements is one of the biggest issues out there. But we'll talk about that on another stream. Impact of political influence. They can investigate the potential political influence on the SEC's actions, including lobbying by Wall Street interests and campaign contributions from large financial institutions to the SEC and policymakers. Citadel. Virtue. Excuse me. Had a little something in my throat there. Any evidence of political influence in SEC actions could suggest regulatory capture. Interesting. I saw you guys talking about that in the chat here about 10 minutes ago. How is it that people know about all this regulatory capture except the SEC doesn't? Where the SEC becomes more focused on protecting financial institutions rather than enforcing market fairness for all. Joseph Dry says, let's just get Lit Exchange started. My friend, you're fucking on it. You understand. We're working on it. Very hard, my friend. Cross-border investigations and global implications. All right, I'm going to go quickly. I got just a couple slides left. About 3 left. Maybe 4, tops. Cross-border investigations. Given the international nature of market manipulation and collusion, what was I just telling you guys about firms overseas not having to follow Dodd-Frank regulations? The DOGE could extend their investigations to international financial markets. Shorts are fucked! This could include looking into whether the SEC's handling of global market activities, like foreign exchange manipulation, forex markets, offshore trading, naked shorts, abusive shorts, swaps, derivatives, etc., or the activities of multinational institutions, has been compromised or influenced by foreign interest or international entities. They can assess public versus private interests. Let me know how you feel and what you folks think. Doug thinks its life is about to get a lot harder for Kenny and Jamie. Let's go. DOGE can evaluate the SEC's prioritization of public interest versus private sector. For example, they can investigate their approval processes for IPOs, for financial products that could uncover instances where public investors were not adequately protected due to the influence of large investment banks or private equity firms. Have you ever heard of tokenized securities? Have you ever heard of single stock ETFs? Think about it. What is a single stock ETF? It's an exchange traded fund with only one single stock. And what would that be? Well, my friends, that would just be a single stock, like GameStop or Tesla or AMC or Palantir. If it's just one single stock in that ETF, why would they do that? Could it be because they can short that exchange traded fund without the short interest having to be reported on the underlying equity? If there is an exchange traded fund out there, a single stock ETF holding Tesla, and a firm shorts that ETF holding Tesla, Tesla's price goes down. But the short interest on Tesla does not go up, because when you short an ETF, it does not cause the price of a stock go up. When you have no more shares of a stock, you can short the ETF. Are you starting to understand, folks, what's going on here? Tokenized securities. You ever heard of FTX and the hundreds of millions of shares of AMC and GameStop that they supposedly had, which we found out they never did have when they went bankrupt, when we got to look into their books? Well, my friend, they had more than the entire float of each company sold and shorted and rehypothecated many times over. The review of the SEC's whistleblower case outcomes can be tracked by DOGE in claims received by the SEC, assessing the efficacy and fairness of how these claims are handled. There's an analysis of how cases are closed and whether the SEC fails to take action on certain cases could uncover systemic failures in protecting whistleblowers and the investigation of potential fraud. Folks, you get it? SLV, Eli Arnold, you get it, my friend. Silver ETF. That is exactly a big major form of the way that the prices of precious metals are manipulated. And in case you didn't know, folks, 97% of all precious metals derivatives are traded in dark pools. AMC and GameStop are up there in the 50s and 60s, and sometimes even 70% of all their shares traded in a single day go to be traded in dark pools. But when it comes to precious metals like gold and silver, 97% of all derivatives by 1,286 financial institutions, both within and outside of the United States, trade derivatives in dark pools to manipulate the price, to control the price, so that they can continue to trade it how they want and keep it out of your reach. Employee ethics and integrity. We all know that ethics and integrity is a big fucking problem in all of these firms, especially the SEC. I'm going to skip this. You guys get it. Conflicts of interest, personal financial gain, unethical behavior. You understand. Conclusion. It's time for change. Time for real change. That's where we're at. The Department of Government Efficiency investigation of the SEC aims to uncover critical issues that hinder transparency and fairness in financial markets by addressing this market manipulation, naked shorting, and collusion between regulatory bodies like the SEC, FINRA, etc., and financial institutions. We can pave the way for a more equitable trading environment. However, change is not just about investigations. It's about creating actionable solutions, folks. Actionable solutions. That's what we're here for. Okay? Loot Exchange, with our upcoming groundbreaking platform, can actually allow you guys to create your own change, because I think people have had about enough of it. Because we can see that the SEC is not going to make that change. This is key to revolutionizing the financial landscape and the issues that we're facing right now in market manipulation. This is the world's first stock and crypto brokerage that has ever allowed non-accredited retail investors, that means regular people, to own equity in the company prior to its launch and IPO. Through the Regulation CF crowdfunding campaign enabled by the Jobs Act of 2012, Lit Exchange presents an unprecedented opportunity for individuals to not only participate in the financial markets, but to literally own a stake, to own equity, to be a founder of Lit Exchange, a very platform that is challenging the status quo of financial trading. Now, again, There's a lot of YouTube channels out there where you guys are going to see information about manipulation in markets and banks and financial institutions. But here, not only do we point it out, but we actually give you a way to change the future for the better, to stop the manipulation that happens in dark pools and payment for order flow and front running of trades. We have a plethora of AI-driven tools and enhancements here, transparent pricing, and a capability of swarm intelligence to help eliminate the manipulative practices that have historically plagued retail investors. Lit Exchange is going to be here to provide a unique dark pool free alternative that ensures fairer, more transparent trading for everyone. All of you, not for the big smart money firms. And by joining Lit Exchange as a founding member, investors have access to a revolutionary platform and also become a part of the historic crowdfunding campaign, offering early stage investment opportunities. Remember, guys, when companies out there go to create a brokerage, they go to the hedge funds and they offer them this chance. They get money from hedge funds. Then those hedge funds make a ton of money when that firm IPOs in the future. But instead of doing that, as we are for retail by retail, I'm coming to you. And we're making things like this video on X, YouTube, Rumble, TikTok, etc., in order to give you an idea of what it is we're doing so that you can go in there and do your own due diligence. View all of our filings on the s.e.c. Edgar website, which you can find there, Lit Exchange LLC. There will be links to it on our website as well. You can see all of our Regulation C, CA, D, and DA filings that we've posted so far, and join the over 300 people that have raised over $500,000 already, 100% organically. Not a penny has been spent on marketing or advertising, because once we do start spending those allocated ad spend dollars that we're going to be in the very near future, we will reach our goal and it will be closed, meaning you will not be able to join it in the future. This is the only time that we are ever going to allow anyone to take advantage of these perks and benefits. These perks and benefits associated with it, with Lit Exchange, during our pre-seed Regulation CF crowdfunding campaign, again, under the Jobs Act of 2012, will never be available again. This is your chance to be a founding member of the future of trading. Invest in Lit Exchange and secure your stake in a platform for retail by retail investors. Because together we can build a more transparent, efficient, and actually democratic financial system that leaves behind the manipulation of the past and opens the door to a fairer future, free of manipulation, free of the front running of your trades. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with that. Do yourself a favor. Go to litexchange.com. Scope it out for yourself. There are links to the s.e.c. Edgar website and our s.e.c. filings there. There are links to the FINRA regulated funding portal, Silicon Prairie. You will also find our pitch deck, business plan, audited financials, offering memorandum, subscription agreement, and other disclosures, as well as an investor forum in which there's Q&A questions there in case you are wondering. And a lot of people are asking me, what is it? How many shares will I receive for a unit of Lit Exchange? Because right now with private equity, you get a unit of the company. And when we IPO, as we plan to do in the future, you would then receive a number of shares based on every unit. You would likely receive hundreds, most likely tens of thousands of shares per unit when we IPO. So that will basically be based on the number of shares that we issue the company with upon IPO. So one unit will be the equivalent of most likely, thousands of shares at a certain dollar price. And you will also receive buyer's rights, meaning that as an owner, a founding member of Lit Exchange, you will have the right before anybody else, should you choose to do so, to buy additional shares of the company at the IPO price before trading begins. That is part of one of the benefits there. You can get all of the information you guys need there directly, see everything in relation to the company, and get a much better understanding of what's going on. But the reality of it is that unlike traditional brokers, Lit Exchange will prioritize fairness and transparency, automatically routing orders to lit markets, preventing market manipulation, and deterring manipulation of your trades. Matt says, thanks for all the DD and time you invest in the cause. Thanks, my friend. I appreciate that very much. We definitely had no intentions of creating Lit Exchange when we first started this journey. But as time went along in 2021, we decided, instead of just explaining this to people and buying and holding and hoping that these manipulators get crushed, let's actually make a difference. Let's actually go out there and stop the payment for order flow and the dark pool manipulation, because they're not going to choose to trade orders in lit markets. Retail investors have to join a brokerage that is going to automatically trade their orders on the markets for them, because no other brokerage firm in the world is doing that. Anyways, folks, I wish you peace and wealth. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you again tomorrow for another one. Thank you again, everybody, for supporting the channel, myself, and Lit Exchange. If you're not yet a founding member of Lit Exchange, I really urge you to consider it.
Elon and DOGE, we're kicking down the door, rolling to the s.e.c, time to settle the score. Elon in the game, breaking all the chains, DOGE by his side, they don't play no games. Step into the s.e.c, watch them all sweat. We uncovering the fraud, ain't no secrets left. Naked shorts in the shadows, they've been creeping. Market manipulation, these crooks been sleeping. Retail's been trapped, but we bring in the fight. Musk and DOGE on the rise, taking back the night. We in the s.e.c, exposing the lies, rooting out corruption, watch them meet their demise. Free the markets, make them fair once again. Elon and DOGE rolling deep for the win. Dirty tricks they try to pull, shorting stocks, playing games like a fool. But we too sharp, we calling the bluff. Elon's got the plan, now the pressure's tough. Retail investors, time to get your share. No more rig markets, no more despair. Fraud's going down, we taking control. Elon and DOGE breaking out of the mold. We in the s.e.c, exposing the lies, rooting out corruption, watch them meet their demise. Free the markets, make them fair once again. Elon and DOGE rolling deep for the win. We on a mission, bring the truth to light. No more naked shorts hiding out of sight. Retail power, we reclaiming the street. Musk and DOGE bringing heat to Wall Street. s.e.c, exposing the lies, rooting out corruption, watch them meet their demise. Free the markets, make them fair once again. Elon and DOGE rolling deep for the win. Hey, we on a mission, bring the truth to light. No more naked shorts hiding out of sight. Retail power, we reclaiming the street. Musk and DOGE bringing heat to Wall Street. Justice in our sight. Markets are free, we restore the light. Elon in the front, DOGE holding it down. They can't stop us, we taking back the crown. Frauds uncovered, justice in our sight. Markets are free, we restored the light.